And how would you feel if your employer turned around to you today and said, I just want to call you into the office here, John. I have a question for you. Did you get the vaccine? Are you fully vaccinated? Do you have one or two jabs? Would you be happy to tell them either way? Because interesting stats have come out over the weekend that we want to get your thoughts on. And it's all about employers. And apparently 6 in 10 employers want the right to ask their staff if they've been vaccinated against COVID-19. This is a survey carried out by the CIPD. They're the professional body of human resources, so they deal with all human resource management. And it found that almost half of employers would not change the way they treat their employees, even with that information, but they still want to know. So 6 in 10 employers want the right to be able to ask a member of staff, have they been vaccinated against COVID-19? Now, interestingly, if you go on in this survey, it says that under a fifth would not permit unvaccinated workers to enter the workplace. I don't know how legal that's going to be to tell a member of staff who hasn't been vaccinated, you have to stay at home. 58% wanted to know if their employee was vaccinated, but only 40% wanted proof of the vaccination. I'm trying to get my head around this. I'm trying to work out why a boss would want to know if you're vaccinated or not, and how it would change things, and could it change things for you where you'd end up being the black sheep if you were in fact vaccinated. So I'd like to hear from you. You can send us a WhatsApp now, 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. Send one to Katie and she'll send it on to me. Now let me go to Neil first of all. Good morning, Neil. Your own opinions matter. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Monday. We are here again.
We are here again. How are things? Are you well?
Not too bad. Not too bad. The coffee is in and I have you in my ear. So it's a beautiful start to the day.
Lovely. Have you downloaded the new app?
Well, I'm on iOS. So
okay.
I'm using the Facebook.
It's on the way. It's on the way next week. Anyway, what's your opinion about this? Do employers have the right to know?
Yeah, well, I think if we start at the end, I think eventually it's going to end up in a contract. Whether you work in McDonald's, Tesco, or whatever, HSBC, they're going to have it in the contract where you tick a box saying, are you vaccinated? And if you don't tick the box, they just won't bring you in for an interview. So that kind of eliminates the conversation we're about to have. But, you know, for example, you're in the hotel right there, and if you think about the interactions you have, even right now, the people around you, Katie's there, all these people are milling around the hotel. Eventually they're going to have to be asked, are you vaccinated, because of the interactions they're having with people. Now, it's not, you know, getting into whether people should be vaccinated or not is going to cause the show to go on for 14 hours because there are people who are for it and against it. But as an employer, if you are facing a customer, so, you know, I was up in Tesco this morning doing the shopping. Every single person I was near who was an employee of Tesco, if I'm asking where the cornflakes or whatever, you know, and if they're not vaccinated, they pass it on to me. Now, I know the vaccination doesn't stop you passing it on. The whole point is to get everyone vaccinated. But it does add a layer of risk for an employer. So if you go into a corner shop and cough on me and I get COVID and I sue you, you know, that's where we're going to end up, because that's the kind of people we are, unfortunately.
So hang on a second. You were talking about Tesco's. Does it really bother you? Do you really want to know if the person working in Tesco's is vaccinated or not? Even though, as you say, you can still pass it on, even though you're vaccinated. You want to know whether or not people you're interacting with on a daily basis are vaccinated.
Oh, not me. No, I mean the employer. Me, it's none of my business. I'm only a shopper in Tesco.
Okay.
But I mean, in terms of the manager of Tesco, the owner of the corner shop, the owner of the pub, whatever. You know, it's for the employer to know, not for me. It's none of my business what you do. But it's just like if you and I were meeting if you were coming into my cafe, I had a cafe, and you come in and go, I'll have my whatever, and I cough on you or whatever, you're going to leave there going, that's a bit weird. I'm thinking about this a bit more. Whereas, you know, if my boss says, have you been vaccinated? And I go, well, I've one shot. He goes, right, we'll put you on the sandwiches or whatever. We don't want you facing customers just in case, for customer peace of mind. That's what it's all about. So, you know, and the problem is people are not into the vaccination thing. There are people who are not into it. And we're going to get to the point where, you know, sporting occasions, concerts and all this sort of stuff will just be for vaccinated people. That's where we're going to get to. Now, we know it can still be passed around, but the whole point is so that you don't end up in hospital. We don't want you getting 5G or whatever they're implanting in people, that other nonsense. We want everyone to be safe, healthy and happy. and moving around without a problem.
Okay, an employer would have no right to ask you about any other medical issues that you may have, and nor have they a right to ask you. So what makes it different about this? And as you said, and let's be very clear about this, someone who is vaccinated against COVID can still pass it on. So I don't get what difference it makes.
Well, if I'm out of work for a week, I have to explain to them why. You know what I mean? So, it's a similar principle. But also, you've got to understand that this is brand new. This isn't something that's been around forever. So, the way businesses work will change going forward. And I do think it will become a little box tick exercise in your form when you're applying for a job. They'll say, look,
I have to say, sorry for cutting across you, Neil. I would have a big issue with that, and I'm sure a lot of people would. If you do have an issue with what Neil is suggesting there, send us a WhatsApp to 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. I would have a big issue with that even being a question on a job application. But do you think that going forward we probably will have that on a job application?
It's just a guess. It's not even an educated guess. I've been hitting the head too many times to my guesses. But it's just how employers will get around the conversation we're trying to have here in terms of an employer asking an employee, have you been vaccinated? The one way to get rid of that is to put it into a form. That's not me saying they should do it or shouldn't do it. It's just a way of avoiding that conversation because they know people don't want to have that conversation asked. But if I'm out of work for a week, or if you're out of work for a week on sick leave, you need a doctor's note, which is a form of explanation. So it's just a step up from that in a brand new virus. Now, whether you want to do it or not, you don't have to tick the box and they won't bring you in for a job. Like you're free to not tick the box. You're free to not say to your boss,
okay, it's an option,
your medical history, but they're also free to say, well, if you're unvaccinated, I don't want you in my shop because you're a danger to my customers.
Okay, stay there for a second, please, Neil. I know people are getting annoyed with this already. You can send us a WhatsApp to 085 825 2626. It is Opinions Matter with Jeremy Nixon here on my Todd today, so do keep me company. WhatsApp again, 085 825 2626. We're talking about whether or not an employer has a right to ask a member of staff if they've been vaccinated or not. Jay thinks this is a tricky one because it's also an invasion of privacy.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Katie. I suppose it depends on the type of work you're doing. I mean, if you're working with the public, you're in hospitality or whatever, I mean, you're dealing with the public, so I suppose an employer should know whether you're safe to be at front of the house or whether you have to work in the backgrounds. I mean, if you work on your own, that's a different story. Like to me, I'm out on my own, so it doesn't matter to me. But it's a tricky one because it's an invasion of privacy, but then on the other hand, it's a health and safety matter, isn't it, really? But I think if you work with the public, an employer should be able to ask you. But if you don't, it doesn't really make a difference, does it? Thanks. Best of luck there. Good show, pal.
Cheers. Thanks. Sorry, there I am. Thanks very much for that, Jay. I'm shocked, I have to say. I wasn't, when we discussed these things in the pre-show meeting, I was certain that the majority of people would have said this is a disgrace, and I'm very surprised at the reaction so far that most people are actually going the other way. This listener believes that employers should know as well.
I would say that I agree with the employees knowing, just for the simple fact that if a customer, or say if it's in a crash environment or something and a child gets COVID, would that be blamed on the person that then isn't vaccinated or something along them lines? Will it make the employers liable for the person that's not vaccinated if somebody else actually gets COVID or something along them lines? So for that reason, I'd say they'd want to cover themselves. Therefore, I'd agree with employees knowing. Thank you. Love the show. Adia.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, there we go. I keep using my own microphone because I'm normally in the other seat. Thanks, Adia. Again, very surprised at the reaction to this. If you want to get in on it, 085 825 2626. It is Opinions Matter. Let me go to Kevin. What's your point on this, please, Kevin?
Hey, Jeremy. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
Look, this is a necessity now, right? That gentleman kind of hit the nail on the head, which will be a concern for a lot of companies and staff. This is Sue Culture Ireland, okay? And COVID is considered an act of God. No insurance company is going to cover an action against a company taking a court for an employee or customer getting it. So they have to protect themselves. And if that means weeding out the employees to find the ones that are willing to minimise their risk to their continuation of business, then so be it. And obviously, the people who don't are willing to say, are not willing to tell an employer, I didn't take it and I will never take it, obviously have something to be embarrassed about, are afraid to be treated, as you would say, like the black sheep of the company. But they obviously not willing to die on the sword that they're fallen, or die on the sword that they believe, or what their beliefs are about the vaccination, because they know they're flawed and it can be torn apart in seconds.
Yeah, this is not an anti-vax conversation, though, Kevin. This is about
no, but that's what,
no,
like, no,
this is about your privacy, and for a lot of people, medical issues are a very private matter, and getting the vaccine is a private matter. If you, I have no problem. I've said this from day one. If somebody doesn't want to get the vaccine, absolutely, I've no problem with that whatsoever. I can understand if some people will be afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm due the second jab next week. I'm getting it. But if somebody doesn't want to get it, they should not be treated any differently, do you not think?
Well, as a matter of fact, business doesn't work like that. If you've got 2 tills and you know one person working on a till has COVID, everybody's going to go to the till that knows the person is vaccinated. It's that simple.
Yeah,
it's self-protection.
No, that's absolutely ridiculous, because...
No. Look, I'm not saying everybody's like that, but there are a large proportion of people who will think like that, especially people who have been shielding for so long. They're not going to take the chance.
Okay, hang on
and
a second.
And employers can afford to take the chance.
When you go into...
Would you take that chance as a business?
We are doing... What I'm talking about as a customer. When you go into...
for a staff member.
Well, yeah, but
you're not going to be around a staff member who's not vaccinated as much as you were before this all happened. Because you know there's an element of risk.
When you go in...
like the people who believe that, you don't get vaccinated, it doesn't affect anybody who's just the people who've not been vaccinated. It's BS. It can still be transmitted, but people don't seem to understand that. It only affects people who haven't been vaccinated. No, it doesn't. It stops the person, the recipient, of not dying or getting seriously sick.
Yes.
Doesn't stop transmission.
When you go into a shop to do your shopping, Kevin, whether it's today or this week, the chances are that most of the people working behind the tills are not vaccinated, because a lot of them will be under the age of 30, and that cohort hasn't been vaccinated yet. So you are already in contact with people who haven't been vaccinated on a daily basis.
Yes, that's true.
And that's not worrying you, is it?
No, but the problem is that we have a fully valid vaccination up to the highest percentage as we can get currently for the one that initially happened, not for the new ones that have happened since and are happening right now. So, yes, we need to take every precaution humanly possible in order to starve this thing. And this merry-go-round that we're constantly on of people, it's against my civil rights, it's against this, I'm not doing it. But why aren't you doing it? Why have you got the guts to tell your boss, I'm not doing it? And then let your boss make the evaluation of whether it's safe enough to you. He thinks it's safe enough for you to stay in that position. Because at the end of the day, he could be taken out of business by one person, one lawsuit. And you know that. And that's what he's protecting. He's protecting his business, his employers, his employees, etc.
Stay there for a second, please, Kevin. A lot of people are getting very annoyed about this. 085-825-2626. We're going to go to Brendan in a second. But let's have a listen to what Donna has to say on this.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Donna here. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you're going to be working with the public, it's just a new normal, isn't it? Yeah, 100%. Just tell your employer you're vaccinated and show them the proof. 100%. I don't know why your mum was on about there with the 5G, and if somebody gave him COVID, he'd sue them. You do get mad people on your show, don't you?
Yeah, well, I think he was being a bit sarcastic about the 5G. He was making fun of some of the anti-vax conspiracy theories that are out there. But again, Donna, the idea of having to show a boss a certificate to say, I mean, I have it in my wallet. I have the little grey piece of cardboard that shows you that you've got the vaccine. But the thoughts of having to hand that into an employer to prove that you had the vaccine is just I can't get my head around it. Let's go to Brendan. Brendan, you're on Opinions Matter. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm good. Now, what's your point on this?
Well, my point on this is that under GDPR rules and regulations, you do not have to disclose any information about your medical history to anybody. And if by doing so, technically speaking, it's in breach of GDPR, because that's between you and your doctor. It's like I was asked in a shop, would you mind putting on a mask, please? I says, I don't wear a mask. Okay, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I just don't wear a mask because it gets me all kind of claustrophobic. If you know what I mean.
You're not
something over the face.
You're not medically exempt from wearing a mask, are you?
Oh, I am, yeah.
Oh, you are
Right.
medically exempt. Okay. Do you have a letter?
Yeah.
Do you have a letter? I've always wondered because
Right, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you have a letter or not, right? Okay? Under GDPR, I'm not allowed to show that letter to anyone.
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's.
But here's another one.
Yeah.
Here's another one. It is, yeah, because you're divulging your information to somebody else who will take that information.
Okay, well, just
and use it.
well, let me deal with that issue for a second there.
Yeah.
Hang on, you haven't worn a mask.
Second.
So hang on a second. I'm asking you haven't worn a mask from day one, have you?
No, on and off,
On and off.
occasionally.
Okay.
Not the whole time, because I find I kind of get claustrophobic when I wear it.
Okay, that's fair enough. Do you do have a letter from your GP to say that you're exempt from wearing one? Do you?
I can get a letter from my GP to say that I'm exempt from wearing one. I don't carry a letter from my GP.
Okay, so how do
to
you?
say I'm exempt from wearing one in case I lose it.
Okay, how do you deal with it in shops when you walk into a shop and the person standing at the door asks you to wear one? What way do you deal with that?
Well, I just tell them that under the Disabilities Act of 2005 that I'm not at liberty to wear a mask.
And that's okay. They're happy with that, are they?
Oh, they've tried to kick me out of a shop and that. And I said, well, look, I says, it's your call. I says, either you lose €100 or I do my shopping.
What about protecting other people? And you know, Brenda, nobody wants to wear face.
Oh, no.
masks.
I understand that. I understand that. But I have a couple of health issues. And
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why I can't wear the mask. I can't bear anything over my face. I don't even wear a scarf in wintertime around my mouth.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Because I just can't bear it.
I get that, and it sounds like you're legit. There's a lot of chances out there, by the way, that aren't wearing masks.
I know that, yeah.
Just because they want to cause trouble, and I'm not saying that you're one of those people.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. But getting back to, did you get the vaccine, or can I ask you that question? You don't have to answer it if you don't want.
Believe it or not, I'm due to get it tomorrow.
Okay.
Shot number 1 at 10 to 10
okay.
tomorrow morning.
Does the employer have a right to know? I don't know your work situation, whether you work for a company or whatever, but does your employer have a right to know?
As I said, under GDPR, can't divulge that.
Well, I don't think that's. I'm gonna look that up. But GDPR is more about the passing of private information onto other companies.
Yes.
This is not.
Hang on now a second. Now, hang on. You've hit the nail on the head there, right? It's about passing information onto other companies. Okay. So between me and the HSE, which is state company, okay, that is my private information. I'm not at liberty to divulge that to anybody else. So therefore, if I do divulge that to anybody else, I'm breaking GDPR rules and regulations.
Well, it's you. I mean, you're being nitpicky.
Am I?
But you are being nitpicky. It's your own information. If you want to pass on that information to your employer, you can. Why wouldn't you want to pass that on?
I don't feel he needs the right to know.
So they don't have the right to know. So if you're working in a company where you're working on a floor with like 50 other people, you don't think the 49 people working with you have a right to know if you're vaccinated or not?
No, it's not their choice. I don't have to divulge that to anybody.
What would you say to the people, and there's been lots of them who've been on the show this morning so far, who've been saying, you know, it's the right thing to do and they have every right to ask you?
Okay, let me put it to you this way. There's a moral right and a legal right. Okay, morally right, yes, you can tell whoever you want. Legally, you don't have to open your mouth. So there's two types of right.
And which one would you be coming under? The moral reason or the legal reason?
It would be the legal reason. I don't have to divulge anything to anybody about whether I have a vaccine, whether I've been vaccinated or not.
Well, it's funny, I asked you and you told me straight away.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, I told you I was going for my jab tomorrow. Right? Okay, so from tomorrow I will be vaccinated. At the moment, as I'm sitting here in my kitchen, I'm not.
And if I ask you tomorrow, if I had to ask you tomorrow on the show whether you're vaccinated or not, would you tell me?
I would have, yeah.
So hang on, you've no problem telling me and thousands.
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
And thousands of listeners.
Here's the thing. No, but you see, here's the point, right? It's up to each individual whether they want to divulge or not, whether they have been vaccinated. Okay.
And
so if you want to tell your employer that you've been vaccinated, so if you want to tell Adrian, I've been vaccinated, yay! And then Adrian goes to tell somebody else, and that somebody else tells somebody else, and so on down the line. Do you not think that's a breach of trust?
Okay, let me read out a message for you here on our Facebook page. That man is so bloody selfish. I don't know where he works, but does he not care about the people that he works with? What a selfish man, only thinking of himself.
No, I'm not thinking of myself. If I was thinking of myself, I wouldn't get a vaccination.
Well, no, you're getting the vaccination. I assume you're getting
Yes.
I assume. You're getting the vaccine because you don't want to end up in ICU if you're unfortunate enough to get COVID.
God, no. If I get COVID, I'll end up on the Undertaker's slab, and I don't want my wife to be a young, sexy widow. So
okay, so that's why you're getting the vaccine. You're getting the vaccine to protect yourself. To protect yourself.
I know I'm getting the vaccine to stop my wife from being a young, sexy widow. That's why I'm getting it.
Yeah, and you don't want to end up in an early grave. As you say, stay there for a second, please. Let me read out some of your messages. You can keep them coming in. 085-825-2626. 085-825-2626. You heard Brendan there. He doesn't want to end up being or leaving his wife being a young, sexy widow, and a lot of people are very annoyed with him. I can't believe that man won't wear a mask in the shops. How selfish can you get? Well, you heard the reason he won't wear a mask. I have no problem with that. He doesn't like... Well, it's not that he doesn't like wearing masks, Stephen. He's medically exempt from wearing the mask. Absolutely shocking, says Eric. I applied for a different job and it asked for a vaccine proof in the application. Eric, I would find that hard to believe, and I'd love you to send me proof of that. I've heard a few stories of that going around where people have claimed that they haven't got jobs because they're not vaccinated. And it's all well and good saying that on Facebook, Eric, but I'd love proof. I would love proof of any company in Ireland that is asking on job applications forms for vaccine proof. Because I'm being honest with you, Eric, I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe that even at this stage that people are putting, unless it's a job in an ICU unit, in a hospital or something like that. But I don't believe that normal everyday jobs, they have this on the application form. And I said, if anybody has proof of this is one of these Facebook myths that does the rounds. Jobs, they had to tick the box. Did you get the COVID vaccine or not? It's an urban myth. So unless you have other proof, I don't believe a word of it. Let me go to Liz. You can't believe what you're hearing, Liz. Why?
No, Jeremy, I think it's terrible, to be honest with you. I don't think you should have to show, like, it is your private business and it's up to people if they want to get vaccinated, okay? Now, I'm fully vaccinated. I got my second jab last week. So I'm completely vaccinated now. So I'm glad. It was my own choice and I wanted to get it, you know? Like everyone else that wants to get it, they want to keep safe and they want to be okay. I just feel it's terrible that if a child has to go, or I call it child because I'm an older woman, if a young person has to go for a job, they have to show proof of them getting a vaccine. Like, I think that's wrong. But
they don't at the moment. They don't.
Right.
Or if they do, I've no evidence of it. Maybe somebody does have evidence.
Me neither. I haven't heard either, Jeremy. That's why I was kind of a bit taken aback when I heard that today, you know. I just don't think it's right, really. Now, I do believe in everyone getting it. I think they all should, because, to be honest with you, Jeremy, I look at other stuff. I look at other medications, and if you read the leaflets, there's worse side effects. Now, thank God I didn't get any side effects on my 2 jabs, only a sore arm, right, the next day, but I was fine.
Same as myself,
and most people have been. I think it's just sometimes it's in a person's head, or it can happen 1 in a million. But honestly, like, all my family have been okay, thank God, that have had their vaccines. And I do agree. I think the only place that really they should ask for these things, if you work in a hospital or you're doing some sort of work like that, that they should have. Yeah,
okay,
they should have that.
So in a situation where someone is working in a supermarket or whatever behind the checkout, you don't believe they've any right to know there?
Honestly, to be quite honest, I'm half and half, Jeremy, to be honest with you. I do believe everyone should be vaccinated, but that's my opinion. Right? But if people aren't going to get it, they can't be forced to get it. And unfortunately, you can't, you know, they're giving out about they're understaffed at the moment with the jobs and everything else. So at the end of the day, a lot of young people haven't been vaccinated yet. They haven't had the opportunity to get vaccinated because of the way it's going down on the age groups. So, like, if you're in your 20s now at the moment, or early 30s, There's nothing you can do if you go for a job and you have no vaccine.
But there's nobody, but nobody is asking that question as far as I know. But you don't think employers have a right to even ask that question?
I don't think so, not at the moment, no. Now, because to be honest with you, eventually, because they have no choice, everyone will have to be vaccinated, whether they like it or not.
Well, I don't believe that. There are certain people who, for medical reasons, they can't get the vaccine, and then there are people who are just terrified not to get it. And I respect their right. I respect their right. They shouldn't be bullied into getting it.
No, I don't believe we get bullied into it. As I said, everyone has their own opinion on it. You know, it's just my opinion. That's all. And there's a difference with my opinion and telling people to do it.
Okay, stay there for a second, please, Liz. Send us a WhatsApp, 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. Liz can't believe what she's hearing. She also believes that it's going to come to a stage where people are definitely going to get the vaccine. And I don't. Even the ads on the radio at the moment from the HSE that are saying, we can't make you get the vaccine. It's not the law, but we're advising you to get it. It's never going to become mandatory. And there's people who are genuinely terrified about getting the vaccine, and they shouldn't be bullied into getting it. Let's have a listen to what Stephen has to say.
Yeah, people, they keep saying, if you're working with the public and the vulnerable, then you should be vaccinated, the new normal. No. If you're vaccinated, you protect yourself, nobody else. So unvaccinated people can work with who they want. They will make no effect to anybody else but themselves. They're only risking themselves. So there's no new normal. It's old normal.
Old normal. Thanks very much, Stephen. Ian is reacting to what Brendan was saying, who was on a couple of minutes ago.
Jeremy, I bet if that man was an employer, he'd want to know if every single one of his employees were vaccinated. So he's just a gobshite. Ian here, listening Perth, Australia.
Oh, okay, thanks very much. And Yvonne believes that in some circumstances, an employer should have a right to know.
Jeremy, I honestly think it depends on what type of work you do, whether you tell your employer or not whether you're vaccinated. But I definitely think that people that work with vulnerable adults and vulnerable children, some of them that medically can't get the vaccine, they should definitely tell their employer whether they're vaccinated or not. And to be honest, they should be vaccinated if they're working with people like this. Thanks, love the show.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I think that is a difference. If you are working with people who are vulnerable, and I know there was a big issue about this a couple of months ago when certain members, staff members working in old folks' homes didn't want to get the vaccine. And that was a very tricky situation because what happens in that situation when you have someone who's working with very vulnerable people who don't want to get the vaccine? But having said that, and the argument all along is even if you have got the vaccine, you can still pass it on. The idea being that once the vulnerable and the elderly people are vaccinated, and we've seen the numbers go down in hospitals and ICU units, once you are vaccinated, you aren't going to get as bad symptoms of COVID, but you can still pass it on. Let me go to Peter. Peter, how are you? Your own opinions matter.
Jeremy, good morning. How are you getting on?
Good morning. Which side are you on? Are you self-employed or are you an employee?
I'm self-employed.
Okay, what do you think of this?
Yeah, so dealing with the public and dealing with, old people, vulnerable people, 100% absolutely people should know whether you're vaccinated or not. It's like basically going into work sick. If you go in with a flu or you go in with anything that's contagious, the employer has the right to actually know whether you're fit to work or, that you're not going to pass on any virus, whether it's cold, flu, whatever. Things like that. That should be just a given no matter what happens in life.
I don't know. Does that ever happen? In all my years working, I've never been told to go home because I have the flu or something like that because I have a bit of a stuffy nose.
I have in past jobs, especially when I was working in a sales environment and whatnot, and it was all dependent on staff members being in the job. That we couldn't end up get somebody else sick. You know what I mean? If I had anything contagious, whether it was a cold, flu, or whatever. You know what I mean? So they did send me home because it was pointless me being there, taking up space, that somebody else could have been in there. So, it all depends on the environment.
Okay, so they basically said to you here, listen, Peter, you're not well today. I think you should go home.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same. I think it's the same if you go in and you're not vaccinated and you have to deal with people that are vulnerable, then absolutely you shouldn't be around them. But like you said, you can be vaccinated and still carry the virus. So it's a bit of a catch-22.
with that in mind, and that is the key here. Why would an employer need or want to know if you can still pass on COVID even though you're vaccinated?
I think maybe it's just to be extra cautious in a way that if you're in a situation where you're vaccinated and somebody else is vaccinated, then there's no problem you two being together. But if you're vaccinated and somebody isn't, it's giving the choice then to the person that isn't vaccinated to actually be in that position. So having that sort of flexibility to be able to say, well, look, you're vaccinated, so you can go and you can help that person if they're vaccinated. So then, you know what I mean? So you're working together rather than not knowing, because at the moment you don't know who's vaccinated and you do. So, like, you know, this app that they brought out when you could actually see if you were close to somebody that had COVID.
The close contact.
I think the close contact thing should be brought in for the same people with vaccinations.
Really?
So your app can tell you, well, that person's actually vaccinated, so you've no problem being close. You know what I mean?
I want to ask you a question. I'm going to do a quick poll on this in a second as well, because a lot of comments coming about it. Do you think on a job application form it should be a question on the job application form: are you vaccinated or not against COVID?
100%.
Really?
Yes. Why not? They can ask you. When you think about it, Jeremy, right? When you fill in an application form, any medical history that we should know about, it's on a form anyway. For now, it's just being a bit more specific.
Yeah, but that's kind of questions like, you know, do you suffer from epilepsy? Because if you suffer from epilepsy, obviously there are certain jobs that you probably couldn't.
I know people that do suffer from epilepsy and refuse to put it on the form so they don't get it because they're afraid of not getting the job.
Yeah, because there are certain jobs where they may not. So you believe that if I'm going for a job next week, and I could be, who knows? If I'm going for a job interview next week, that on the application form, I get the application form, I'm sitting in the office waiting for the interview, and you believe that there should be a box in that application form that says, "Have you had the COVID vaccine?"
COVID vaccine. Yes.
And what will that achieve?
It all depends on the job you're going for. All depends on the job you're going for. If you're not going to be around people, it doesn't need to be honest.
Yeah, but
if it's on a job...
Yeah, most jobs you are around people at some stage.
Well, yeah, not really. I know people that work night shifts in printing companies that are on their own, isolated for 12 hours. They're not around anybody. Literally. Not around anybody. They go in, they clock in, they clock out.
Okay, but in a situation where you are around other people, be it on a factory floor or whatever the case may be, those people should have to tell on the job application form whether or not they're vaccinated or not. Stay there for a second, Peter, because I want to run a very quick text poll to see how people feel about this. So get out your phone now. Get out your WhatsApp. 085 825 2626. There's the number on your screen there. 085 825 2626. It's a simple yes, no question. Now, you have to do it by text. You have to answer by text. There's no point doing it on WhatsApp or on Facebook, or it won't go through. So on WhatsApp only, 085 825 2626. And here is the question. You heard from Peter there saying he believes it should be on a job application form. The question is simple. Do you believe that there should be a space on a job application form asking whether or not you have had the COVID vaccine? Okay, so you get the job application form and it has all the questions: your name, your address, your previous employment. Do you believe that one of the questions on a job application form should be, did you get the COVID vaccine jab? Simply WhatsApp us yes or no to that number, 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. I'd be very interested to get your thoughts on this. And be brutally honest with me. So simple yes or no. 085 825 2626. Paul, your own opinions matter. Good morning.
Hiya, Jeremy. How are you?
Good. Now, you're vaccinated and proud to tell anybody who asks.
Oh, yeah. There's no reason why I shouldn't. At the end of the day, people feel calmer around you. People feel safer around you. I'm still wearing my mask. I'm still washing my hands. I deal with the public day in, day out in my retail job. And I don't care who knows whether or not I'm vaccinated. At the end of the day, it's a good thing. It's like if I won an award, I'd be happy to put it up there, you know?
Not everybody feels the way you do, though, and a lot of people are very, as we spoke about last week, are they're a bit worried about the vaccine. They're hesitant about getting the vaccine. Some of them they have a lot stronger opinions about the vaccine and believe that we're all being used as experiments and stuff like that. So you're proud to say you got it. I'm proud to say I got it as well. In fact, when I went and got my first jab a couple of weeks ago, I was very disappointed that they had none of those badges left. None of the badges left, because I would have happily worn the badge, because I'm proud to say that I'm vaccinated, but others are not the same. Do you believe that it should be on the job application form?
On a job application form, I don't know whether it should be on a job application form, for the simple reason it's one of those areas that it shouldn't affect your job. But then again, I have a medical condition, and I've always told my employers about my medical conditions. They say, "Do you have any medical conditions?" You say yes. I remember the days when you used to have to go for the medical to start work.
That's
so
right.
I've always been open and honest.
Well, in fact, and it's something you have to do when you're joining a football team. You always have to get a medical done. Now, I don't want to know the medical condition you have, but did it affect going for certain jobs?
No, it's never affected me before. I've explained the situation, and they've always turned around and said, "Yeah, that's grand." And it's just being open and honest, and they appreciate that open and honesty as well.
And it's never affected you in the past?
Never affected me at all.
And you would have no problem in a situation where you get a job application, you would have no problem answering that question on your screen or on your page, have you had the COVID vaccine or not?
I would be more than happy to. In fact, I'd answer yes, I'm fully vaccinated.
Do you not think it's asking a bit much to ask such a personal question?
No, to me it's not a personal question. It's a question to ask you if you have the wherewithal or care about other people enough to have had it done, and care about yourself enough to have it done, so that you are protecting yourself and protecting the public.
Okay, thanks very much, Paul, for your comment. I'll give you the results of the poll now in a sec. If you want to get in a quick vote on it, 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. The question, once again, I'm asking, and it's hard to believe, you wouldn't imagine this 2 years ago. It's kind of 1984 stuff, isn't it? Big Brother wanting to know everything about you. But in a job application form, that was the question we were asking. In a job application form, do you think it's acceptable to have a question on that job application form asking whether or not you have had the COVID vaccine? And we asked you to text a yes or no, simple yes or no, to 085 825 2626. And I'm just looking at Katie's screen here beside me and seeing a lot of the stuff coming in. What would you say, Katie? It's about... Is it 60% saying yes? Would it be? Yeah, about 60% are saying yes, that should be a question on a job application form. Here is my problem with that, with having that as a question on a job application form. There are a lot of people that are not going to take up this vaccine for whatever reason, okay? And they shouldn't be judged because they have their own reasons for not taking up the vaccine. What we are essentially doing by having that as a question on the job application form is we are discriminating against these people who, for whatever reason, didn't want to get the vaccine. Now, is that really, really fair to do that when you're trying to go for a job that immediately you are being held back because you simply didn't get the vaccine? That, to me, that's creating a them and us situation. We already have this huge divide in this culture between those who are anti-vax and those who are pro-vax. And I'm pro-vax, and over the last year I've been screaming this and giving out about anti-vaxxers and their conspiracy theories and all that. But I certainly don't believe that in a job situation where you're going for a job that should hold you back. I mean, why in God's name would that hold you back? It just doesn't make sense to me at all.